Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Josh Ellsworth from Stalls and Stalls TV, and I'm excited to be broadcasting live into our Stalls All Things Heat Printing Facebook page, our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, and our Stalls TV YouTube channel all simultaneously. We wanted to make sure everybody got to see the content that we're about to produce for you, which is an interview. And you're going to want to meet this guy. This is Lee Stuart. I'm going to bring him on camera here in a second, but I like to search a lot of videos on YouTube. Those of you that follow me know that I produce a lot of videos for YouTube, and I love showing people how to make cool stuff, right? And so that's been the focus of Stalls since day one, is teaching you how to make stuff to be successful in your business. So we do a lot of research on YouTube, and I came across Lee's channel and was just amazed at the quality of work and the quality of education that he was delivering on his channel to his viewers. And I don't want to steal all the thunder. We're going to learn a little bit about his channel, what he's doing on there. We're going to share the link out for it, so you can make sure to subscribe to that and get all of the content he's producing. But without further ado, I'm going to welcome in Lee Stuart. He has a really cool studio setup. I think I may need to take some cues from him, but welcome broadcasting to our groups. Lee, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I gotta take this stuff seriously, you know.
I love it. I love it. So before I go any further, I'm really intrigued by what's behind you. So we're going to get to your story, but we got the scene here. So how do you have that set up behind you as far as getting that really cool backdrop?
Honestly, this is like the tiniest room in my house. This is like a little spare room that's like, I don't know, it's smaller than a jail cell pretty much. It just looks I've got this super wide lens on here right now, but I just got, I don't know, something from Amazon on the wall and a little motorcycle painting behind me and some LEDs on the floor, and the camera's doing all the work. That's like my life savings pointed at me right now.
Awesome. Well, hey, the LED on the back wall makes it look really sweet, along with the camera that you've invested the time and money to. Make sure you guys shout out who you are and where you're watching from, so we can see that I got Ramon from Pennsylvania in the house. We got a fellow Canadian here, so they already know where you're from. Gary Hill is on watching us. We got Todd Downing. Looking forward to some great info. Always good to see you, Todd. And so we're going to dive into it. So I guess for our viewing audience, who is Lee Stuart? Where did you come from? What are you doing right now in the industry?
I come from Winnipeg, Manitoba, city that most people probably never heard of. And yeah, I just kind of fell into this industry a few years ago out of nowhere. I started off with a clothing brand a couple years ago, and I was having a lot of problems with printers, essentially. Quality was the biggest issue, and I'm probably the craziest person you'll ever meet about quality. Like, if there is one teeny little thing out of place, I will pick it out from across the room. And some people say it's overkill, but I mean, my brand means everything to me. So yeah, I was just having problem after problem with these guys, and finally I just said, you know what, like, the only way I'm going to get what I want is if I do it myself. And so yeah, I just dove head first into it. I really had no experience, no knowledge, no nothing, and just, you know, let's do this thing and hope for the best. And that's basically how it started. And now we're, 3 years into this, got a YouTube channel centered around all of it. The business is growing like crazy, and it's been a wild ride so far.
Excellent. And so you started with this vision. Was it, you said a brand, was it a clothing line specifically?
Yeah. I had originally, I used to be a professional freestyle motocross rider, stunt rider, snowmobile rider. I was 3 different sport athlete. And so I kind of was around brands for a really long time and working with them and stuff. And I'd always wanted to start one for myself. And after I retired from all that stuff, I started the YouTube thing, and I kind of started one up just to hopefully start supplementing the YouTube part of it, because it was costing me so much money breaking my body and breaking my motorcycles in these videos for so long. So I started off with that whole thing. And yeah, then I originally wanted to start printing just to print my own stuff, right? And that's how I think a lot of printers start off.
Yeah.
And you realize that your stuff starts taking a back seat to print work, because all of a sudden the workload from other people starts just piling up more and more and more. And now I've kind of shifted my main focus to the print shop itself, because as we all know, clothing brands come and go every single day, but they always need someone to make their stuff. And that's definitely the route that I want to take.
Yeah, and I love that. So something interesting, Stalls has always dealt with a fair amount of startups. A lot of folks watching today probably got started with heat printing or heat press because it's easy to do from home, right? And then they kind of grow. into more technology, but we are seeing since March, since COVID hit, such an influx in people identifying their business as t-shirts and fashion. So we've seen a lot of like screen printers, embroiderers, just traditional decorating techniques that people are coming from, but we're seeing an influx of people that are wanting to start their own clothing line. And so you said something interesting there of, clothing lines will come and go, but there's always people that are going to want to order your stuff. So for those that are just starting and thinking about starting their own line, what advice would you give them as far as diversifying their business?
Well, exactly. That word is the key word right there, is diversification. If you're starting off with printing just your brand, I mean, it's going to start off with that. And that's a good way to cut your teeth, because you're not practicing on customer stuff. You're practicing on your own stuff. So the more you mess up, it's really not as big of a deal. And you're going to mess up a lot, like a lot. I emphasize a lot. But once, things start growing more and more, you want to kind of branch out from the brand, because there's so much more possibilities out there. You've got this equipment sitting here doing nothing essentially when you're not making stuff for your brand. I mean, if your brand's selling crazy volume every single day and you got to just continuously print to keep up with it, yeah, go at it. That's definitely the way to go. But if it's sitting there for any length of time, you should keep that stuff working and just get into other stuff. So like, with heat printing, there's sportswear, and there's, the plastisol transfers is a very popular way for people to get into stuff. That's how I started. And just, there's so many avenues that you can use this equipment for than just your own stuff. So you're kind of stupid not to do it, essentially.
Yeah. So if you're investing in the equipment, just keeping the equipment moving, making sure you're turning a profit on it. Did you start as a one-man show, and are you still a one-man show as far as your printing?
I still, as far as the actual making of physical things, I'm a one-man show. I started off with just the Hotronix hat press. That was the first piece of equipment that I got. A friend of mine reached out, who's actually just a fan of my channel at the time. I didn't know him. He just reached out of nowhere and said, "Hey man, I embroider. I'd like to send you some patches just to help you out if that works." And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And when they showed up, they had the adhesive backing on it. And I was like, whoa, I can put these on stuff instead of just selling patches and make more money. So I started looking around, and I found you on the internet, actually heat pressing some patches on some hats. And I was like, that's what I want right there. And I started looking around the internet for hat presses, and, the Stahls, the Hotronix at the time was the best press you could get on the market. And I'm a crazy person about quality, like I said. So I was like, yeah, let's get this thing over here and put it to work. So he sent me 50 patches, and I made the 50 hats. Those blew out right away. And then I started getting him to make me more and more stuff. And I just started building my inventory of equipment from there.
Yeah, good. So want to just divert slightly, because we got into the hat press topic. I know we've been super excited to sign you on as whatever you want to call it, an influencer, ambassador, affiliate. I don't know how you like to refer to yourself, or somebody just produces cool content of how to use our products. And you've recently started working with the Hotronix 360 IQ hat press. And I assume, is that what your hat is decorated with today?
Yep. I made a whole video making these bad boys a couple weeks ago. That's doing extremely well right now. So yeah, I've been using that thing now for, I want to say like a month or so. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's so good.
Now, was Headwear always like a important product vertical for you since you started there? Has it been like one of the core products that you offer?
Yeah, that was the toughest one. I really, to get made, is very difficult, because locally we don't have good embroiderers here at all. I went through probably every place that embroiders here and was just like super bummed with everything that came out. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And then when my friend Josh emailed me out of nowhere and sent me those patches, I was like, wow, his work's actually good. These patches are good, and I can use this and just kind of like divert the whole embroiderer thing and put them together myself. And plus I can sell them as patches by themselves. I can put them on other stuff. Maybe there was just a bunch of avenues in front of me that I saw, rather than just embroidering straight into a hat. And yeah, man, the hats were really what started this whole business for me. Like it was crazy how fast it happened. I started with those. I kept selling more and more of them. Then I bought a vinyl cutter next and started putting vinyl on them, because I saw some videos about that, and there was a cheaper, easier way to get into some of the stuff. And then I bought the Fusion IQ next, and then that's when my business really kind of kicked off, because I could kind of make a little bit of everything.
Good. And so from your product mix, you still have the clothing line, correct?
Yeah, it sort of. I kind of like, put it on the back burner the last like couple months just because of what's happening right now and how busy I actually am. It's just impossible because, like I said, I'm a one-man show essentially when it comes to the production side of things. And the shop is growing so fast. We're actually moving into a new one right away. We're building a whole new setup and stuff. So something had to give. And I was like, that's going to be the thing. I really want to focus on my clients and building our base and so on. So that's where pretty much 100% of my focus is at now, and the YouTube channel, of course.
Good. And then for the jobs and the potential opportunities that you're seeing flowing through for the custom decorated items, are there any particular industries that you see growing that you would recommend people that are just getting started try to tap into first if they're printing hats?
Definitely start catering towards like the small startup clothing brands. That's what I'm seeing. It seems to be a constant for us. That's like probably our biggest customer base, and the one that hasn't slowed down, especially during this whole pandemic situation. That seems to have like kicked up actually. That's definitely the one to keep your eye out for.
And most of those clients, will they buy in? I know it's still a small order, but in bulk, like 25, 50, 100 hats at a time?
Yeah, usually. We don't really do anything lower than a 25 piece order for the most part. So everyone seems to be okay with that because it is still very it's very accessible, very inexpensive to get that many. And people see a big number like, oh, can I sell that many? But it's really not as hard as people think.
All right, good. Well, we have some comments coming in. A lot of fanfare for you, which I love.
Cool.
So people know you and love you. So let's pop up some of those comments here. So if you haven't heard of Lee before, you're going to get some testimonials here. So Jay says, "This is awesome. So much respect for Lee and the knowledge and truth he speaks on his channel. Plus, seems like such a cool guy. Much respect." So thanks, Jay, for the comment.
Thanks, Jay.
All right. And we have T-Town T-shirts. What's up? Just watched your new video today on custom shipping boxes. We'll dive into that here in a second. I haven't seen that one yet. And then, hey, it's the Rogue Man. Great interview from Miami. So we got some people shouting out from different corners of YouTube and Facebook. Great to have you guys live with us. So talk to me. Awesome. Custom printing shipping boxes. What's this about?
Yeah. To me, branding is super, super important. It's a very overlooked thing, especially people kind of starting at the bottom because they want to, everybody wants to save a little money and try to do it as cheaply as possible because it's an expensive thing to get into. But branding your own stuff, especially things like a shipping box that's going to be going around the country or going around the world, possibly handled by many people, branding that thing is super, super important. And I saw that right out of the gate when I started. When I started my brand, I was spray painting these things on my front lawn. I cut like a crappy little stencil of my logo and was just sitting out there with a bunch of cans of spray paint and just trying not to, get high and pass out in the grass, painting like hundreds of these things at once. And my neighbors all looking at me like I'm crazy and whatever. But when I would take these things to the post office, like the first time I showed up at the post office, my opening weekend of sales was actually kind of insane. Like I sold out of almost all my inventory in 2 days. So I showed up at the post office with 200 boxes all spray painted up, looking cool and whatever. And I started wheeling these things in there. And as I'm doing that, I'm looking at people that are in line at the post office and they're pulling out their phones and Googling my brand name. And I was like, yeah, I think we're onto something here. So, so after that, I started branding literally everything I possibly could with our name. And, the video I put out today, it shows exactly how easy that is. Like, of course you can get a stencil and spray paint these things, but if you want to make a professional, nice, clean looking box, like you'd buy from someone, it's actually so cheap and so easy to make. Like you can get a cheap single station screen printing press from Amazon that costs like, $70 and, some water-based ink. And it's a beginner print tutorial that literally anybody can follow day one and print a nice box with. So it's incredibly easy and something that people should definitely look at doing.
Awesome. And how can people find your content?
You can just search my name on YouTube, just Lee Stuart, LeeStuart, and it pops up right away. Or you can do the whole youtube.com/Lee Stuart 38.
Okay, cool. So make sure you guys search that out. We'll make sure after the session, we'll post links at all the key places. Or if anybody from the Stalls team is watching and you want to link to Lee's YouTube channel, I'd appreciate that on our different channels so folks can click right to it. Two things. One is video concept, right? Because I don't know about you, but I'm looking for video concepts like throughout just my daily job as I'm talking to people like you. So now one of us has to try a plastisol transfer on a box. Because I have this concept. If you print a customer's job with a t-shirt transfer or whatever, or even your own logo, just being able to customize that with their logo plus your logo might be kind of cool.
That is cool, actually, because I've got plastisol transfer sitting on the shelf right now and boxes. I could literally do that in the next 5 minutes if I want to.
All right, that's a challenge. We'll see if we can get that and answer that for everybody, or somebody at home may try it while we're still watching. If your heat press is hot, grab some cardboard, plastisol transfer, let us know if it works. But the thing that stood off to me about that is you said you're very specific about quality in particular, but all of that drives into the customer experience.
Yes.
And from the first interaction that they have with your brand to when they're actually cracking open the box and seeing the item printed the first time. And for any of our viewing audience today, I think that's one key point I want you to take away right away is be specific and intentional about your brand and the way customers interact with it. If you're not, they'll write you off very quickly. You have a very short window to make an impact, and it sounds like you've been able to do that quite well.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like we take things a few steps further than a lot of people do, just because we do so much in-house design as well. Like graphic design, logo design, that whole thing is a very big part of our business. My boy Dan, who runs that side of the business, he is incredible at what he does. And between the two of us, because my brain is ridiculous. Like it's like a bunch of jacked up squirrels on a little wheel in there, just pumping out ideas 24/7. So having someone nearby me at all times that I can just yell these things to, and he can put them into reality has been crazy for our business and what we can do. So like when it comes to in-house design, I'll have like a weird idea, like we did with the boxes today. Like we print the inner flaps of the box and do this whole thing in one shot. And I was like, I yelling across the office, this is what we want to do. And 5 minutes later, here you go. And we do that with pretty much everything. Anytime a weird idea pops in my head that we can put our name on something, we get after it immediately. And we follow very strict guidelines with our stuff. Like we've got, we do this for clients as well. You know, you got like brand guidelines where you have fonts, certain colors, certain logos that are going to go on certain things. And we are very serious about that with ours. We follow that to the letter, and it's paid off for us big time in the long run.
Great. So give our viewers, and we have people chiming in where they've tried this before. So I want to share some of that. So we have, and I apologize if you guys don't accept the StreamYard as a platform. I won't know who you are, but I'll still share your comment that you've done it before from somebody commenting on Facebook here. I have somebody else that says maybe the same person that works on boxes and paper bags. That's kind of cool. And then Todd, who I know is very experienced, chimes in. We've had mixed results depending on the box coating. So you may have to do a little bit of R&D there. And another person says this particular transfer, Ultra Color Soft, is tricky on them. So maybe you go with a standard goof proof or plastisol transfer to try that the first time, because you're just doing single color logos right now on the boxes, right? Is that what you tried?
Yeah, I keep it to single color just because we have to produce so many of them all the time. Like I could do a multicolor thing and get crazy with it, but it's a box at the end of the day. So like you got to know where to draw the line, right? And if I start getting too crazy with things, I'll burn up way too much time doing something useless. So we stick to the single color, and right now I print them with water-based ink because it's really the easiest way to get it on there, and it's the longest lasting. But the plastisol transfer thing, that's a really crazy idea that I've actually never even thought of before. So now I'm like, I really want to go downstairs and try it.
Well, we got the squirrels running, so that's good. All right. So give our viewers kind of a layout of your print technology and everything you have. We've heard bits and pieces, but kind of lay it all out succinctly of what you have in your shop right now.
So right now, like it's actually my basement. I turned my whole basement into like the craziest home print shop you've ever seen. And so we got in my office, it's full of the heat presses. We got the 2 hat presses in there. We got the Fusion IQ in there. And then out in the main area is the screen printing setup. So that's all a manual screen print setup. I've got an 8 color 6 station setup in there. We got the dark room, which used to be my laundry room. So now that's all kind of jammed in the corner, and I send my mom laundry to my mom's house.
She probably loves that, huh?
So I can work. Yeah. And then we also got the wide format printer now. So we're doing vehicle wraps, stickers, all that stuff that's occupying my garage. And then I also recently just got an embroidery machine as well through Melco. So now we're diving into that. So now we can make pretty much everything. The last piece of the puzzle that I don't have is a laser, and I really want to get one.
Laser. Yeah, there's some really cool things that you can do with a laser. Not only, I'm sure, hard goods, but in heat transfer vinyl and twills and patches and whatnot.
Right now. And that's what that whole video is about. And I was like, the one thing that I was kind of like butthurt about when I made that video, that I didn't actually make these, that somebody else did, and I was just applying them. So now I got to get a laser and update that video.
Hey, well, we have some adhesive. We'd love to send you some to back that any leather that you find or faux leather that you find with, and I'm sure there's something we can make happen there.
Oh, yeah.
Good. So, guys, we're broadcasting live here, which means as you're watching, we are seeing your comments when you type them in. So, if you have questions that you want to ask Lee or myself, or you just want to see us discuss a certain topic, please chat those in. We'll be on for another 15 or 20 minutes at least together here, where we want to be able to go through some questions. So make sure you go ahead and chat that in. And someone says, make sure they watch your first video when you first get your roll-in printer. So I guess let's jump off on that point. What's was it a bad experience or what?
Yeah, it was very bad, to say the least.
All right. Should we go into why, or yeah?
I mean, it was just I got it from a place that really wasn't adequate in training me how to use it or how to even set it up themselves. So essentially, at the end of the day, I went through like 3 days with this person and just was like pulling my hair out, ready to freak out. And I ended up having to sort all the problems out myself. I had to figure out, how to set this thing up, how to get it running, how to do all this stuff. And then I found someone else to come in to do the final little tweaks on it, because it needed like a head alignment and some other stuff I discovered. So yeah, it was like a 5-day process to get this thing going. That should have been 8 hours. And so it was a very frustrating experience, but it's working in there now, and we're pumping out some cool stuff with it.
Did you buy used or new?
New.
Okay. And,
yeah. So that's why it was extra frustrating.
I bet.
Yeah.
And which model did you go with from Roland?
I got the VG2 540.
Okay. And so because I know we have distributed Roland printers for a while, and I've stood behind them at trade shows talking to lots of people about them. And something people considering that investment of a printer cutter always struggle with is what size to get, what width to get. So do you want to shed some light on that topic and how you arrived at your decision?
I mean, everybody, my initial thought was like, just get the biggest one you can. And that's how I kind of try to do everything. But you got to really think about what kind of stuff you're going to be doing. So when it comes to vehicle wraps, that was kind of going to be our main thing. A 64 inch isn't really necessary because most of the material isn't that wide, right? So 54 inches is more than enough for us. If you're going to be printing, signs or doing like really, really big stuff, then obviously get as big as you can get. But for us, vehicle wraps is like going to be our main thing. And that's really what I wanted to tackle was that. So we went with the 54, and it's been great so far. All the stuff we put out has been amazing. I've even figured out some settings and some other stuff in there that people are trying to get from me now, because our wraps are looking way crazier than a lot of other people that have these printers, and I'm not telling nobody nothing.
So you do with your own wrap start to finish, or do you bring in somebody to help with that?
Yeah, I've got an installer that works here as well. So we're doing all that stuff start to finish here. So once we get into the new shop, then everything's going to be all in-house, and we're going to be able to show a lot more of that process. And the channel in 2021 is going to be really, really crazy with what happens.
Big goals.
There's a lot of big stuff happening behind the scenes right now that are going to slowly start coming out over the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be pretty cool. The industry is going to be shocked on multiple levels. I'll say that much.
All right. Well, there's your teaser. So guys, you got to be subscribed to the channel. We're broadcasting now, if you're watching on YouTube, on the Stalls TV channel. So if you just stumbled across this, as somebody did, make sure you start with subscribing to Stalls TV, and then make sure you look through the comment thread and head over or search for Lee Stuart and subscribe to his channel. We have a question that came in that made me laugh here. So how in the heck do you pack so much into your life? Do you sleep? Also, did you tackle that helicopter wrap yet? So somebody must watch your stuff here.
Yeah. Well, as far as tackling what I tackle, I mean, I'll just be honest. I have no personal life, period. And I have it, I guess, a little easier when it comes to putting more into my business. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have any of that stuff. So I can really focus 100% into my business if I want to. And that's for the last year what I've been doing, because I have big goals with this thing and I know what it's going to take to get it there. And I'm going to do literally anything to make it happen. So I put pretty much night and day into that thing. Sometimes I don't sleep. It happens just because of the video thing. If I was just doing my work, I could handle it. But with the channel, I'm sure you produce content. The crazy amount of filming and editing that goes in my stuff, like some of those videos take 20 hours to edit, and sometimes I got to sacrifice sleep for doing these things, getting them out on time. That's why my upload schedule is a little spotty sometimes, but Yeah, man. It's just, it's my life is this stuff. So that's how it happens.
Well, it sounds like, at least what I'm hearing, it sounds like it's your passion.
I love it. I honestly love it. Like the YouTube thing it's a lot of work. It's a full-time job on top of a full-time job, but it's so much fun, especially seeing, like the comments like this pop up where something I've made is like actually helped somebody. That's really what it's all about for me. That's when I see that happen, it's just like fuel to the fire to keep going, because that's so cool to see.
Yeah, good. So, guys, make sure you continue to engage. Here's a question. Somebody that knows your story. How did you go from being a biker to owning a print shop? I mean, I'm not sure if that's a progression we see a lot in the industry, but did it take you away from your roots? So just getting into that move for you.
To a certain degree, I guess. Like when I was writing for a living, I didn't have to do anything else. Obviously, that's all I did for better part of 12 years. But when I stopped and I kind of got more into this, I mean, it did to a certain degree, because when you get into business, especially in the beginning, you do have to make a lot of sacrifices. You have to, sell some stuff you might not want to sell. I sold a bunch of my motorcycles to buy a lot of print equipment. And I haven't had time to ride probably this year. I haven't ridden at all this year. So that's one sacrifice I had to make. But like, you got to weigh it out. What do you want to do more? I mean, I really do want to ride. I love riding. I've been doing it since I was 4 years old, but at the same time, I really love this business. I really want to see it grow, and I want to build a future around it for myself and for my employees. So, I'm doing what it takes to do that.
Yeah, it's good. So being passionate about it, if you want to be doing what you're doing, I think you'll have that self-motivation, and you're already thinking, and most people that are passionate and serious about their business should be thinking well into 2021. So planning is important. 20 hours of editing. I mean, that's some planning, and that's some commitment to what you've set out to do. So thinking about what you're going to accomplish before you're going to do it. For our print shops that are listening, or those that are thinking about getting into this industry, I would just kind of challenge you and say that make sure you have a plan, make sure you have a thought process to that. Do you document like a business plan, or how does that channel in your mind?
I honestly, I don't really believe in business plans, to be honest with you. Like business is so like flying by the seat of your pants, essentially. So how do you plan certain things, right? Because like stuff could happen, like we're seeing right now with the way the world is. Stuff just flipped a full 180 out of nowhere, and nobody planned for that. Like Mike Tyson said, you're always got a plan until you get punched in the face. and the business got punched in the face big time this year. And we were ready for it, thankfully, because we're able to quickly adapt to things. Like we do have a certain amount of planning that goes on. Like when it comes to just the structure of me building this business and the way that I built it and the channel, that was very much planned. Like I've had that plan for years, and I'm probably planned for the next 3-4 years of all the different little steps I'm going to take to get this where I want to get it. But as far as the day-to-day, or as far as the numbers, or as far as, that kind of stuff, I'd much rather leave that to a day-to-day thing, because you really can't account for a lot of that. So you kind of got to like do a little bit of each, I guess.
Sure. And the one thing in there is certainly in this environment, you got to plan for agility, right? You don't want to get too strapped to any particular one thing, because you may have to change directions.
Yeah, we're seeing that right now, like with printers who were, say, very focused on certain clients in the industry, I guess, like say like printing for schools or printing for events or for churches or things like that. Those guys are really not having a great time right now, as we're seeing. But the people who are able to adapt to, what's going on, and like, let's jump over to clothing brands, let's jump over to like YouTuber merch, or let's jump into all these little other things that are starting to pop off because people are hanging out at home more. They're the ones that are really killing it right now. So, we got a guest.
Oh, sweet. All right.
That guy makes his appearance in every video.
Well, that's nice. Well, viewers are not disappointed. All right. So Trevor says, here's a good question. I'm about to start a print shop. Is there any advice you have for a beginner? Anybody you would recommend I follow for advice, or websites where you learned, besides you guys, of course? So you want to chime in on that topic?
Where I learned most of what I know was through the Ryonet channel, as far as the screen printing is concerned. I watched Ryan on TV literally every single day for a year before I got my print equipment, just to like get the basics ingrained into my head. I probably watched every video 10 times. I still have them in my memory, almost word for word. I watched the Stalls channel a ton when I was learning, because that's how I really started. So I watched especially the plastisol heat transfer stuff, because that's what really built my business. I watched the the hat stuff, obviously. And that was pretty much it. Just those two channels I really paid really close attention to and built the basis of what I know off of those. But at the time, there wasn't really a lot of people out there doing content on it. It was really just the companies making the stuffs. And now we have all these channels popping up doing all this other stuff. So it's changed since I learned, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think there's a great element to it, is that more people that are actually doing the work day to day are jumping. People like the cat, by the way, so you don't have to worry about it. Unless we got a kitty shout out here.
He's crawling on the mixing board right now, and I'm waiting for him to hit a button or something.
A voice change or something.
Yeah, I got a soundboard like full of fart sound effects. I was waiting for those to come up.
All right, I'm gone on that one. So let me just jump to the next topic. I forget where I was, but Josh says, Lee, thanks for what you do. Some of your design tips have had a real impact on my business. So great to see.
Awesome.
Good. So I think that, one of the topics that I wanted to make sure that we got to, we've talked a little bit about beginner advice. We've talked a little bit about a mistake, but it really wasn't your fault with the roll-in printer and some of the challenges you face. There wasn't a mistake. It was just an issue. Are there any things, like if you could rewind throughout your progression in your print shop, whether it's on the sales or marketing side, or something you spent money on or spent time on, that if you had to go back, you would do differently, that you could share with our viewers?
I mean, the people who know my stuff know I had invested pretty heavily into what I got, especially when I got into the screen printing side. Like, I did not start small. I bought a full shop package, like right out of the gate. I didn't start with a little starter press. I spent a stupid amount of money and just built this crazy shop out of nowhere. And honestly, what I know, I would have gone bigger, essentially.
Okay.
It's tough, right? Because some people want to start small, and maybe that's their only option. And for me, my dream, like right out of the gate, was like, I want to build a print shop. I want to do this in the long term. And if you're looking at doing that, then definitely go bigger than what you think you need to get, essentially, because with the heat press side, it's a little easier, I think, because a lot of the equipment transfers over from beginner to pro, which is fantastic. So you don't really have to buy other stuff. If you jump into, say, like, a Fusion IQ, that press is going to last you forever. That's awesome. So that's really cool. But with the screen printing side, there's a lot of different stuff where certain things don't transfer over. So like with my screen printing press, it does not complement an automated screen printing press, essentially. So if I move to an auto, my palettes don't work, my screens don't work, none of that stuff. I got to get different ones now. So if I would have known that right out of the gate, I would have spent more money and got the bigger press that would have complemented the auto, and then we wouldn't have to deal with that. So now I'm replacing all that stuff.
So having to go back and redo again, but it served you well, and you probably seen return on it many times over. You just wish you would have went all the way the first time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just it would have been a little less of a headache if I had known, because it wasn't a lot more money. I mean, it was a couple $1,000s more, but not enough to where, going through this would have been worth it.
Yeah. So I will say the top, I mean, certainly people have a how to print it challenge and things, but you can go to YouTube University, to our channels, and learn some of that, or to a trade show once those open back up, or to another shop and learn if the shop's open to it. But the sales and marketing side is really a challenge for a lot of shops. It sounds like there's no shortage of sales for you along your journey. So give us, what's the secret sauce? How are you getting all these connections and these sales?
Honestly, the biggest thing for us has been my YouTube channel. That has been the golden goose as far as marketing is concerned, because it's getting out to people who aren't just printers, which is awesome. People, might be Googling printing shirts or how to print shirts, or just simple stuff, maybe just to get educated on it before they get into starting a little clothing brand or something like that. And they're finding us that way, which has been super, super awesome. And that has built, the whole design side of the business. That's built most of the print side of the business. And it's growing into other stuff now that's going to start coming out. So YouTube and social media it's crazy how valuable it is. It's absolutely crazy. Like, if you take it seriously, you can build an entire company off of it, which is what we have done.
That's good. And since I guess it all parallels, since you're printing for clothing lines, that's kind of your top customer base. The how to print content is relevant for them, right? Because that's where a lot of the folks that are watching, they are probably started there, and they could be potential clients for you to contract print for them.
Yeah. And it's also really cool because if you do build a following, it ends up attracting certain clients, which has worked for us a couple of times. I haven't done it yet, but it's something that's very enticing to me now, that clients are maybe seeing the channel and want to get their stuff printed on a video. So that, because that's a lot of potential advertising going out to new people. If they got a cool shirt I'm making on screen, we've done this numerous times where we've printed something on camera, and there's a lot of comments like, oh, where can I get that looks super cool. So now we've got clients who are wanting to get their stuff made on camera, and that's something super cool we're going to start exploring soon.
That's fun. Were you when you first started videos, were you intimidated at all, or like how did you first get in front of the camera? Does it come natural to you, or?
No, my first videos are so bad. It took me years to learn how to talk to the camera. It's a weird thing, when you're just essentially talking to yourself with a camera in your face. The first couple of years, you're really weird and quiet, and you're just not yourself. And for some reason, you just can't let it out. I don't know what it is, but eventually it becomes second nature. The more you do it, it really starts to kind of just, I don't know, become natural for you. And now I have zero issues about that at all. Now I can walk if I want to, go in public and there's a bunch of people looking at you like, who's this weirdo? And I really don't care.
Talking on the camera. Yeah. No, it's that's good though. But I think for a lot of folks are intimidated by that in our world of digital advertising and social media and how big video is.
Yeah.
Right now, I think that if you're going to develop a skill and set out to do it,
if you want to do it, you got to do it. You really got to dive into it. Your first stuff, unless you're some magical unicorn, is going to suck. It's just, you got to accept that you're going to be weird. Your editing is going to be bad. Your audio is going to be bad. Your camera is going to be bad. Unless you can just dive in, go to the camera store and load up on awesome stuff right out of the gate, then you're going to deal with those things. And you kind of just got to, accept that and just start doing it. And I mean, another thing, especially if you're making online content, especially video seems to be the worst for this, is you gotta have a thick skin for it. So people get in the comments and want to say their little things in there. And
well, we have relatively nice people on today, at least from what I'm reading. So we appreciate you guys all treating us with kindness here. But yeah, you're right. You got to have thick skin, and you can't take anything. You got to have that confidence, kind of let it roll off of your back.
Yeah, you got to kind of just push that out and keep your goal with this thing in mind, because that's really all that matters. If someone's got something negative to say, who cares? Because if you keep at this, those negative people, they're gonna become fans eventually. I've literally seen this on my channel. I've screenshot people saying things on my channel and then come back to them a year later, and now they're saying awesome stuff in there, and they've been subscribers and all this other stuff. So.
Yeah. Haters are going to hate, huh? But yeah, I think I can remember back to my first time. And I was explaining to people how to use this vinyl cutter. I don't know how many times. I was a sales rep, right? And so I would explain it. And then finally I just said, you know what? I think it was 2008 or something. I'm going to bring in my home camcorder, and I'm going to set it up on a tripod, and I'm going to shoot myself, explaining those exact things, and just upload it to YouTube. And I really chalk it up to it's terrible. I think it's still on YouTube. If you look up my old channel, which was just under my name, Josh Ellsworth, the content on there, it's embarrassing at this point, but it's just helps you kind of grow that next level. And it got to the point where people would watch that, and now I'd send them that email as soon as they called me. I'd send them the email, said, watch this, and I'm going to call you back in 15 minutes. And then they knew about the product and they were ready to buy. So I think there's a credibility that's important for any business that can be established through the content that you produce.
Absolutely. Like I said, when I jumped on here before we started, it's really weird to be talking to you, because I've watched so many hours of your videos before I started. You got the Graph Tech back there. I bought that because of those videos. I have the Fusion IQ. I learned how to use all those things from watching hours and hours of your videos and stuff from your channel, from the Stalls channel. I literally found all of them. And yeah, the early stuff, you can tell this was a fly by night home job setup and whatever. And they look the way they do, but there was still great information in there. And that obviously grew into, more and more stuff that you guys are doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got some cool shout outs that I want to put up here. So I got all the way from Poland. And that's one thing I love about looking at the YouTube metrics. I don't know how closely you look at your metrics.
Very.
Yeah, I figured as much. I guess so. We got all the way from Poland. I'm going to grab another one I saw here. Samuel from Zimbabwe.
Wow.
So shout out to Samuel. But I love looking at got Inga from the UK. So I love the worldwide aspect of the audience that's learning. It's always interesting to me to look at those YouTube analytics and see the countries that are tuning into content. So I think for me, that's a really cool part about it, even though, Stalls is an international company. The scope of my work is primarily the US, but the fact that so many folks can be inspired by the videos. And for those manufacturers of equipment that may be watching or products, I think one of the most challenges is allowing these folks that are not located in the US market or Canada to be able to access these products in their country. So if you're a distributor from those countries, I would encourage you, contact some of these companies, some of these folks that are producing content, and get them your product, because there's a huge worldwide audience here.
There really is. And there's, I've talked about this with numerous people before. The industry's changing every day. It's really leaning more towards people like myself who are producing content and putting stuff out there. That's who people are going to now to get their opinion on stuff, especially the ones who are honest, which is kind of like my big thing with my channel. You couldn't pay me enough money to give something a positive review. I will tell you if it's good, if it's bad, whatever. And that's really what companies out there should start focusing on, and try to give stuff to these people. So if they have a good product and they know it's a good product, give it to one of these channels, because they will do more for you than you doing it for yourself. And I've seen those numbers personally. It's crazy. So if you're in a country where it's harder to get stuff, obviously that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but definitely there are people all around the world making content about printing, and companies out there should take a heavy look at them.
Yeah, I would agree. So gosh, everybody's shouting out their country, the part of the world they're watching from. So we got Amsterdam.
Nice.
We got Singapore.
It's so crazy where it can reach to, man. Like even with us, I mean, I see it with the videos and stuff, but even we're just a very small brand as well. It just our Black Friday sale alone, like we're a print shop who sells merch, which is kind of unheard of for a lot of people, because how do you sell merch to printers? But we sent stuff out to like 17 countries in 2 days. It was crazy. And I'm just one guy in a basement.
That's the beauty of it. That's what keeps it fun. I'm trying to find the question. I had another great question here. So this gentleman starting his own sublimation business. That was the first comment, and then there was another comment that came in after that. Let's see if I can find it. What heat press do you recommend when on a budget? So I think that I want to address this, because I think the budget question is important, because at least what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a record number of import presses, which is fine on the surface level, but import presses that don't work very well.
Those things, I mean, they're very enticing when you see the price, obviously, and a lot of people go that route, but the press itself, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like the coils and those things are terrible. There's cold spots everywhere. You're going to get a very inconsistent product with a cheap press. So you really got to sit down and think how much you care about quality, how much you care about your customer's product. If you think that is the biggest thing in the world to you, if you got to wait 2 months longer, 3 months longer, 6 months, whatever you got to do to save the extra money to get a good press, it is 100% worth it. And if I'm going to give it a professional opinion on this, I would say the autoclam right now is probably like the best bang for your buck press out there, because it's kind of right in the middle, between the real high end stuff and between the low end stuff. I think that one is probably the best you can do, because it's got the interchangeable pallets and all that stuff on there, right? So
yeah, we got one right there.
Yeah, that's definitely the one I would go with for sure.
Yeah. So and if you're on a super tight budget, because I know there's just a lot of people that are, we went out based on what we saw in the market and built a new press called the ATZ.
Oh, nice.
It's little 15 by 15 inch, which I know we recommend a 16 by 20. So if you can afford it, absolutely go the bigger, the better. Yeah. But if you're just getting started and you're really on a budget, it's $699. So it's USA made. It's a way to get in the door and make your money back.
Yeah, that's you can't argue with that.
But I would agree with the press that you have, Kenny's comments, some others. If you start to build in the Fusion line, if you can afford the Fusion, that is the way to go out of the gate. It has the most versatility.
Absolutely. And it transfers over in other parts of the business as well. You can use it for screen printing. You can use it for DTG. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. So you can actually grow your business with a press like that.
Yep. And Jan started with a Max. And I know a lot of you don't know these names and what they mean, but the Max was kind of the Stahl's entry-level press. Very, very nice press. But it doesn't automatically open or have the digital pressure. And the Hotronix autoclam, for those of you who don't know what autoclam means, is basically the professional version that auto opens, has the digital pressure. So either the autoclam or the Fusion, those two are kind of like neck and neck. The autoclam is a little less expensive if you're on a budget, but still want the high end of the Stahl's grade machine.
Having the pressure readout is very important. I will say that, like when you're just guessing with a knob and feel, I don't really like that idea, to be honest with you. Having an actual digital readout of what your pressure is, so you know that you're hitting what you need to every single time, I think is very important, especially with heat pressing stuff.
Yeah, what I find, and this is a tip for everybody, more pressure is not better. Okay, so I just want to say that to
Oh,
everybody watching. I see
definitely
so
not.
many even YouTube videos from content creators that are maybe just getting started, showing people to like lay on the handle to get the lockdown. You're going to scorch, damage your garments. It's not really going to produce any better results. If you're having to put that much pressure to apply the graphic, you probably have a root problem with your heat press.
Oh, definitely. And there's other things too. Like a lot of screen printers use a heat press to correct a bad print, or to use as an upsell to make a much higher end print, which is something that we do. But a lot of people do that in the exact same way. They will just like hammer down on the handle, almost lift themselves off the ground, and then put it up for a bunch of extra time, a bunch of extra heat and whatever. And they're actually just smashing that print into the shirt and blowing things out and really kind of ruining it, in my opinion. Whereas I'm starting to teach people how to actually do it. And we're using like super light pressure, super quick time. I think I do it for 4 seconds or something like that. And we're just hammering through these things real quick. And just all we're doing is glossing over that top ink layer as opposed to smashing the whole thing in the shirt. And so, yeah, I gotta make a video on that actually now. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's great. Another question. This is about brand name. We're going to take a few more questions. I don't want to hold this interview up. We're certainly going to do it again at some point. But Lily's Crafts asks, how did you get your brand name? I'm having a blockage on trying to figure one out. So how did you arrive at your brand?
Well, when it comes to Rogue Lab, actually, like, it was very methodical. A lot of people can pull names. Like I'm like that, actually. I can pull names for stuff really out of thin air as much as I want to. It's funny. Like, my designer just makes fun of it all day. So when we come up with a new product or we got to name something for a customer, it takes me like 4 seconds and I've got a cool name for it. But when it comes to my actual company name, I was like, we got to like sit and think about why we're going to call it this, and the branding that's going to follow it, and just a bunch of factors. So when I was thinking about it, I was like, I want to be different than everybody else in the industry, because I'm having problems with all these people making my stuff and whatever. So obviously we got to be different. We got to be better. We got to be kind of like blazing our own trail here. So when I started thinking about that, like, a word that came to mind was rogue. And I was like, that's, perfect. And then started thinking about print shops and what kind of thing. And like, I eventually came to lab because it's a place that creates things where at the end. So I smashed those two words together and thought about it. And it's like, yeah, that's the one. That's really cool. And then I started thinking about our branding, and I was like, we can use like mad scientists and cool lightning bolts and all kinds of other stuff like that people see on our stuff now and whatever. And I'm like, this is the one. This is perfect. So if you're thinking of a name for your company, be methodical about it for sure.
Yeah.
You're going to want something that's going to last the test of time, and you're going to want something that you're going to be happy with. A lot of people will just kind of like just hammer out a name real fast, and then a year down the road they're like, oh, I hate this thing. You got to rebrand and whatever, and people got to relearn it, and it's a whole deal. So take the time and really think about it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's not fun, but we see a lot of company names come across, obviously, of different decorators. So we used to see the trend way in the early days when phone books and alphabetical order were still a thing, where you'd have AA advertising or AAA, or you know, and then it just started to build out like that. And then we see a lot of T-shirts that eventually become T-shirts and more. And we see a lot of names that'll transition from a name to an acronym because the name doesn't necessarily mean as much anymore. So you're just using the first letters. So I do think putting time and energy into it. And then the one tip I would offer as well, once you come up with a logo, stick with it. I think there's, take your time to come up with it, but once you have it, stick with it, because branding is consistency.
Yeah, branding is definitely consistency. And if you are going to make changes, because like we've made changes with our stuff over the last couple of years, but you make them in very small increments to where you're not veering completely away from the original concept. You got to slowly work your way there so that you're not really like giving people like a culture shock when they see this brand new logo and they're like, who is this guy? And another thing you got to think about too, like you said, with like AA printing or something like that. When I think about my brand, like I want to think about something that people would want to put on their stuff, something like put that logo on their body, put that sticker on their truck, put that thing somewhere. So you really got to think about that too. Don't just go with some generic name, because no one's going to remember that. People are going to remember something that really like is cool and is going to impact them in some way.
Yeah, they want to be affiliated with it. So
yeah, you gotta think about culture. Essentially, you got to build a culture around your company.
All right, culture. Let's open that box. I love that. I love that topic.
I got hours in. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to cover this one because I'll butcher trying to attribute the quote, but I do remember the quote is culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yep.
And I love that line because we tend to, a lot of businesses tend to put a lot of time into strategy and planning, but talk about like the feel of the company, the culture of the company, who you are, and how you communicate that through the content that you produce and through your interactions with customers and potential employees.
Yeah, like you said, print shops are very, I see it in probably most of the industry. They really care about the data all the time. And I'm like, who cares? Like, really, who cares about the data? You're doing this many a month at this month. You got to like, it doesn't matter. The way you're going to attract your clients is like bringing them into something that they really want to be a part of. And what we do at the channel and showing me and my guys work together and stuff, showing that like we're real people. That's the biggest thing that when it comes to my channel, I show, which is something not a lot of YouTubers do. Pretty much none of them do, is they don't show when they're making mistakes. I call it the YouTube effect. When people get on camera, they're always all happy and everything's perfect and yeah, whatever. And that's not the reality of business. That's not the way this works, especially in our business. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. You're going to do all that. And I show myself making mistakes, even though I'm at the level I'm at now. I still make them all the time and I do not edit nothing out. And that has really drawn people into what we're doing and showing that we're real people, that we really care about the results and that we're going to go the extra mile to fix these little things. And that's kind of built a whole little community around what we're doing.
Yeah. Community, human connection. I think those are important things. People want to see a bit of themselves, right? As an imperfect person that makes mistakes. It's nice to see that in who you're looking at to learn from and content. It's helpful.
And we like try to go to out of our way to help people as well. Like a lot of shops won't answer questions from other shops or from other printers. That's just, they're holding on to those secrets for dear life. And we're like, who cares, man? Like there's enough business to go around. If people ask me questions, I'm going to answer them. I put out content on my YouTube channel, constantly teaching people stuff. Even my guys, I don't require anything out of them. If people ask them questions, whatever, like they can do whatever they want to do. They go out of their way and they answer questions about their part of the job all day long. I see it and it's super awesome. So like that's become like just a real part of our business, I guess, is just us trying to help people out.
Good. So Evelyn agrees emphatically with you. So thanks for joining us, Evelyn, as always. Josh says your blooper reel is always hilarious. I'm going to have to go and seek that one out specifically.
I missed one in the last video. Nothing cool happened in the last one.
And then complete transparency. Yeah. So I have a few more questions we're going to end with. So Marshall asks, and I know we talked about this a bit before we came on, thoughts on soft foam. And so that's something you're planning some content around, right?
Yeah, I'm working with it a little bit right now, kind of off camera, just learning how it works and what's going to be the best application for me to do on camera, I guess you could say, to show the coolest thing I can make with it, I guess is what I'm getting at. But it seems really cool so far. It's definitely, it's easy to work with. That's for sure. Like the vinyl cutter does not struggle with that at all. I know I've used some other stuff where it's that high build, thick stuff, which it's tough. And it rips through this stuff pretty quickly. So that's a really nice thing.
Yeah. So since you guys stuck with us this long, I'm gonna try a sneak peek here. Let me see if I can find it. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this up on my second screen and show it to you. Since you stuck with us this long, I'll give you guys a sneak peek on what's coming next, and we'll make sure we get some out to you, Lee.
Nice.
Because I'm a believer in this soft foam product from day one when we developed it. Just because once you get it onto a garment, I feel like it just has a different level of like luxury, if you will, or premium to it, especially on fleece and whatnot. So a lot of people are asking for more colors in soft foam. So let's show you this picture here. So this is the new, the top logo. You'll see this is the new Vice Versa City Edition jersey from the Miami Heat, right? And so they had, when this jersey came in, and we do a lot of fulfillment of the names and numbers on these sort of products, but it already comes in with the word mark. And so the front outline design here, the gradient, I guess, or the ombre effect was on top of a black twill. But it felt like silicone, dimensional silicone, or a foam. So we gave this to our development lab, to our experts, and we were actually to come up with a printable version of soft foam.
Ooh.
So we will have, this bottom one is the one we actually created to kind of mimic this. And this outside layer is printable soft foam. It's a dimensional product. We'll release that. Whoops, gotta get you back here. We'll release that sometime at the beginning of next year. I'm going to say March, but could be January.
It's going to be like solvent printable, I guess.
Yeah, you can run it through your 54-inch printer. Nice. To print custom logos. It'll be great, I think, for headwear, but even just for streetwear graphics and whatnot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I run a lot of super tech through that thing, and I love that stuff so far.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. Yeah, so EcoSolvent, Evelyn, for sure. And then we'll probably also put it in our patterns lineup for those of you without printers that just want to buy it.
Oh man, I already got 10 ideas for this stuff. It's
yeah, that one's really cool because you can mix media. Like it's just it's unlimited.
Patterns, I'm seeing gradients. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff in my brain right now. That's gonna be fun.
All right, so that's your sneak peek for sticking with us, guys, all the way coming up on an hour for this interview. I want to end with this question because I think it's a really good one. Is because a lot of shops and a lot of folks in our industry, they're kind of home, and they're not getting the social interaction that they used to. And so I think that adds a different twist to this question when you think about it. But won't say the name. Paturi maybe asked the question: what motivates you to keep going when you feel like giving up?
I mean, when you sit down and think like why you started your business, you got to keep that goal at the back of your mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So let's say a lot of people are very materialistically driven. So let's say you start your business, you wanted to get a Ferrari one day or something crazy. Keep the picture of that thing in your brain all day, every single day. Like even successful companies, they run into very bad times. Like it happens. There's really nothing you can do about it. So you got to sit there and just picture that thing and just keep going at it. You got to get through those things, and just the more you work, the more you put in, the closer you're going to get to that goal. So as long as you keep working through the bad times, you're going to get past them and you're going to get another step ahead. So it's just something you got to deal with. I've seen the bad times hit people and they give up and they want to just stop right there and whatever. But you got to take those extra 2 steps forward and you'll get through it. No problem.
Yeah, I love that. And then I would say, I think a lot of people have probably read the book, Focus on the Why. And I think making sure the why is bigger than yourself, if possible, right? Yeah. If it can be about the culture, what you're trying to create or helping others, if you can make it bigger than just bigger than yourself, I think it'll be pretty easy. You'll tick in a different way.
Absolutely. Like say you get employees or something, you've got now families that rely on you to pay the bills, to put food in their bellies and stuff. So that's great motivation. If things get hard, you gotta think about those guys now. So that's real motivation, because then things are, all the materialistic stuff that comes and goes, but now you've got something very serious, something real, something that matters to think about, and that's way more to drive you.
Awesome. Well, we're getting some great comments. We appreciate you all joining us. I know I said one last question, but this person really wants their question answered, so I'm going to put it up there because it's come through. So the differences between the CE6000 and the CE6000 Plus, this is a pretty specific technical question. Do you know, or otherwise I can take that one?
I don't really know, actually. I got the CE6000 Plus, so I don't know the other one. I think there were some updates on some stuff, because I know the older one was having some issues with a couple things with the boards or something, and they fixed that. That was the only thing I knew. Yeah, and I have the CE6000. I don't even have the Plus. This is my personal cutter for my side hustle. But what I would say is the differences between those two pieces of equipment at this point are null and void. They've both been discontinued. So GraphTech will continue to support them, but you want to be looking at the CE7000. Right now, that's going to be the latest technology from GraphTech. You're going to get some additional features like perf cutting and barcode scanning and really high-end features that typically aren't found in it right away. Yeah, put that on your hit list, right, for next time. I need a perf cutter to go with that rolling, because it doesn't like doing that stuff very well. Yeah, so the CE7000, and actually, I believe we have a webinar. Gosh, I think it's Monday at 1 o'clock, where Mike Koval from our team is going to be in our studio doing a deep dive on that CE7000. So you guys can head over to the events page on stalls.com to find more about that. All right. So, hey, it was great catching up with you. I've watched your stuff on the channel. I know you've watched mine. So to be able to interact in just a casual conversation and have our joint viewers and customers be able to ask questions, I think it should be a great experience. So we should do again. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. All right. And so always keep us updated on how we can help you out. For those that are watching on our
channels and Facebook pages. We'll make sure we post the links to Lee's channels and his Facebook group as well, so you can join and interact with him. And we just want to thank you for joining us here on a Thursday afternoon for this live event. Have a great day and a great weekend, guys.
Thanks, guys.